of your faces, so so thank you for that. I'm sort of half happy that people can join from online, because we sometimes get people that wouldn't have joined us if it was a meeting in person, but obviously it's sad not to be able to meet and greet you all and have a personal conversation and coffee and cake and all the normal niceties. But yeah, thank you for joining us. And this is our 102nd annual general meeting of the Women's Engineering Society, and present we've got WES members, so those that have joined, thank you. The CEO Elizabeth, the CEO's PA, Anna. So thank you very much for that, Anna, for taking the minutes. And Sylvia Vitelio from the Independent Examiners. So thank you, Sylvia, for joining us as well. This meeting is being recorded, and consent to recording is essential. So we assumed you've all consented. If you're not happy to participate in the meeting and don't want to be recorded, then please leave the meeting if you're not content to be recorded. But the recording will be available for everyone to listen to as needed. If there is any other business that's not been put on the agenda or not been pre-notified, or any questions pre-asked, and there were some questions which were answered offline because they were sort of specific questions, but if you've got any pre-notified stuff, we'll pick that up. If you haven't, then please bring it up. Questions will be taken during the meeting. So first point of business, sorry, I've lost the agenda now, I can't see you all. Yes, we are on the agenda, thank you. So the first point of business on the agenda is to receive apologies for absence, and so we had 6 apologies received from Jo Strange, who's given me her proxy, Lynette Willoughby, Betty MacArthur, Grajnia Wabshot, Nina Baker and Kate Ward. Were there any other apologies that anybody was aware of? I'm assuming that's a no. Let me just check everybody's faces. And please do feel free to use the raise hand function if I don't zone in on you and necessarily see you. If you're trying to get my attention, then please use the raise hand, and Elizabeth will pick people up as well and stop me in my tracks if there was a point to be made and I've missed you. So please do either shout out, raise your hands, or stop me in my tracks if I'm busy concentrating, making sure that I don't miss any of the formal points of the meeting. So we now move on to the second item, which is to consider the minutes of the 101st annual general meeting. So that the minutes were sent round with the papers for the meeting. So I want to see if there was accuracy of the minutes. So do we accept that the minutes were accurate? Were there any points to be raised? Any elements of inaccuracy?
I can share them if people want.
Go on, Mamta, was that?
Yeah, I had trouble accessing the paperwork, so I'm a little bit behind, but I'll catch up.
Please do, and as if there was an element that somebody spotted a typo or whatever, then please do raise it for us. It's important for us to have an accurate record. So we come on to the first resolution then, which is to accept the minutes as an accurate record. So is there a proposer for the minutes of the meeting? Kathy, thank you. Raised her hand. And a seconder? Emma, smashing. Thank you very much, Emma Nicholson. Thank you for that. And we now go on to the next item on the agenda, which is the income and expenditure.
Sorry, Dawn, you need to ask for votes in favour or against the minute.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. So all those in favour of accepting the minutes as accurate, please raise your hand now, either virtually or actually on camera. Seeing 7, 8. There we go. Got 8 virtual hands. I saw 1 actual hand. So everybody. That's everybody on Dawn. Hi, Dawn. The thumbs up. Perfect.
Sorry, I'm just chatting about, but yeah.
No. Thank you for joining and listening in. So there we go. I think that's
13 hands, and I'm assuming you're accepting them and your proxy. So
yes.
That's unanimous.
Perfect. Thank you. And now on to the next item. I can't believe I was so excited to get to the income, expenditure and balance sheet. Numbers are normally relatively dry. No offence, Sylvia. So thank you. You would have been sent around those with the papers of the meeting, and as you will see, there's a summary in the balance sheet on the slides in front of you. Were there any questions? And I say Sylvia from our independent examiners is online as well to answer any questions. If there are any specific detailed ones that Elizabeth or I cannot answer. Just looking around the sea of faces. Was that a hand up? Vince, please.
Hello, Dawn.
Hi there.
I suppose my only question is, be interested to know why there was a deficit, or what it was mainly related to.
Certainly, and so just in terms of context, of course, we've had the same challenges as many other businesses and societies and charities due to COVID. So both income and expenditure were impacted by that. But Elizabeth, I don't know if you want to pick up on any specific items. Clearly, it's only a minor deficit, but was there anything extraordinary that other than the COVID challenges that were impacted?
We didn't lose members or partners. We lost income from events because we normally hold them in person, and particularly these student conference, we charge £300 a ticket, and we weren't able to do that. So you'll see that our income dropped from 462,000 the previous year to 311, and our expenses also came down, but not quite to the same extent because we still had certain fixed costs. So our building is being refurbished, so we're not being charged rent. That's only £2,000. And we still had to pay the team, and we still had to pay things like insurance and our software subscriptions, and we had to also increase. We bought something called BidMarker to allow us to hold virtual events online, so those costs increased as well. So in the end, we had a deficit of 6,000, but last year's was 13,000 surplus. The previous year was about 9,000 surplus, but the year before that was £100,000 deficit. So in the circumstances, the trustees thought that was quite acceptable.
So Vince, did that answer your question, or
yes, that's fine. I mean, I know that we'll have gone through a lot of the same things that other societies have gone through. So I know I understand that, and I'm sure it'll be back on an even keel very soon.
Yeah, if we were an airline, this would look a lot worse.
Thank you. And Mumta, you had another question.
Do we have a prediction of what 2022 will look like, on how we might be able to support or kind of gain more membership or gain more funds?
Yes, we're doing incredibly well, actually.
I'm sure you are. I wasn't questioning that. I was just
almost immediately the financial year ended. We signed agreements with a lot more partners. So we're now, as of today, you'll see later that we were at 90 odd partners in March. We are now at 120 and increasing, and we've got bigger partners coming in with bigger money, including McLaren Racing. As of this morning, the predicted surplus is £50,000, but that will go down because we have to pay for a new CRM system, and we're also hiring more staff. But I would anticipate it'd be about £20,000 surplus at the end of the year, but who knows?
Don't worry,
we're in a really good position right now.
I'm working my magic slowly but surely to get Diageo on board, so don't worry about that.
Perfect, thank you.
What I can. I'm going in all guns blazing.
And of course, the important thing to remember is that we're a charity, so we're not actually meant to make a profit. So of course, all of the any gains that we make, we need to think about the best way to use those funds. And so the strategy work, which Susan Robson has been working with the fellow trustees and of course all of our stakeholders to understand what people want, what members want, what a lot of our close associates, what partners want as well. So she's been around the entire stakeholder group, and that will really help us to focus on where we are putting any new and sort of invigorated funding that we're getting from partners. So that's really important. And I think we're going to have the version of the strategy or the strategy that we've set that will be out in the next edition of the Woman Engineer if we manage to get the visuals in time. So hopefully that will be great news, and everybody will be able to understand what we're going to do, and if we do manage to increase our income, how we intend to best use that income. So yeah, thank you. Any other questions on the?
We've got Sarah, Pauline, and Ruth.
Oh, lots of questions. Who was first? Should we go with Sarah? I don't know which order they came in.
Yes, Sarah.
Are you on mute, Sarah?
Yes, she is. Sarah, you'll need to unmute. I can unmute you if you want. Oh, no, I can't. Perhaps we go to Pauline's then.
Pauline, over to you.
No, it's okay. I have raised my hand to vote the previous thing and forgotten to put it down. That's all.
It was an old hand. Fantastic.
Old hand, yeah.
Yeah, apologies. That must be the same for me as well. Apologies.
Oh, okay. No,
I
no
do
problem.
try and lower people's hands as they come. Let me lower Pauline's hand for her. Right. And we've Amina has just joined the call as well.
Thank you. For any of the late joiners, that the call is being recorded, so so just to notify you of that. Any other questions then on the expenditure and the balance sheet? If not, we will move on to item 4 for the director's report.
Right, so we chose the theme Shape the World in 2020-21 in response to the climate emergency, and this had been chosen before the pandemic hit us. And we wanted to showcase the fabulous work done by women engineers in sustainability, because we believe very strongly that it will be engineers who will come up with the solutions to counter global heating. And it was also marked by the start of the first UK lockdown because of the pandemic. So we sent staff home on the 16th of March, which was a week before the government locked the country down. And so as we entered the financial year, we were locked down, and we have been working from home ever since. All of our events were moved online, team worked from home, income fell, but so did expenditure, and we were able to continue our work. Our membership declined by 19% in terms of members, supporters, because we've been undergoing a process of tidying up the database. So in June 2020, we changed our articles so that lapsed members become lapsed after 6 months instead of after 15 months. So that's entirely due to a tidy up. Just to reassure you, I can tell you we've now got about 1,800 members, so we have gone up significantly in the last year. Our sponsored members, which are basically our partner sponsored or maybe STEM returner sponsored members, increased by 21%, and our patrons also, and honorary members and fellows did also increase, and that's partly due because we're trying to make a conscious effort to recruit more fellows. We now say that anyone who is a fellow of a PEI can automatically become a fellow of WES, because if they've been recognised by their engineering institution, then we should definitely be recognising them. Plus, all of our board members on elevation to the board, if they're not already fellows, can become fellows. These are invitations, you don't have to become a fellow, but we are pleased that a lot of people choose that. Our partnerships increased by 16.57%. You'll see we had additional 15 partners, and this, given that we were in a pandemic and we fully expected a lot of engineering companies to stop spending money on diversity and partnerships, we were very, very pleased that we had this increase. And you'll see that the biggest increase was in the event and not-for-profit, which so the event partners, I don't know why it says event partner, because that's actually not true. So I don't know what that 7 to 10 is, because the event partner is only one. I'll have to investigate that because it'll need correcting. But yes, we increased the startups from 0 to 2. So this is a new thing that we give to startup companies. And we did increase our company partners by 6. So we're very pleased about that. You can find all these details on the relevant pages in the annual report, as said in the titles, by the way. InMed 2020 was a terrific event. It was all online, but within 24 hours, we had over 103 million potential reach on Twitter. We had direct engagement with 75,000 people. We increased our followers, and we had top tweets from the royal family, the Labour Party, Petronas Motorsport, Mercedes, the UK Space Agency, Rolls-Royce Cars, the Red Arrows, and NASA. And at noon, the official hashtag InMed20 was trending #1, and it was only surpassed by Boris Johnson saying that the pubs would open on July 4th. Which is probably why we got the sensible tweets from the royal family and the Labour Party, because the top 3 tweets were all about the pubs opening. And I think the royal family wanted to extend their reach into our audience But of course, that means that their audience received our message. And so politicians and the royal family, not generally people who would understand what we do. So that was terrific as well. And these are our sponsors without whom we couldn't have put INWED 2020 on. The top 50 women in engineering with sustainability. So 50 absolutely fantastic women working in sustainability to help combat climate change or to make the world more sustainable in other ways, including Carla Denyer, who actually has now become one of the joint leaders of the Green Party, was celebrated. We weren't able to have an in-person ceremony, so we sent the trophies to their houses and we asked them all to dress up as if they were going to our afternoon tea, and then we created this montage of all of their wonderful pictures there. And this is our staff and associates. So we currently have, at the 31st of March, me, Anna Pluck, my new PA, Helen Close, who we hired as a heritage officer from being our centenary trail manager from the grants, which is now permanent member of staff. Our membership manager was Tristan Holland, and our partnerships manager was Beatrice Pryor. Tristan is also new. And then we lost 4 members of staff: Jo Weaver, events; Roz Hamilton from operations; Jackie Hawkes from marketing and comms; and Kath Heslop from membership and volunteers. And of course, we have our contractors: Lynn Postle, who does the Woman Engineer; Jo Yates, who's the editor of the e-newsletter; and Sarah Yates, no relation, who is our events associate. And we've also hired Genius Marketing, who are our marketing and communications company, who manage all of our external facing communications. And in response to COVID, all meetings and events in person were immediately converted to virtual meetings. Planned raises in partnership fees in May 2020 were introduced for new partners, and existing partners were able to pay at 2019 fees until September. And we did this in order to keep hold of them.
Sorry, Elizabeth, Sarah has a hand up, so I don't know if there was a question to a point that you were just making.
We can do questions at the end.
Okay.
We're nearly there. So lockdown did not affect the bulk of membership renewals in April 2020, which we were quite concerned about. And we were concerned about the ability to hold events in person beyond 2020 and the effects of the pandemic on the partners, and particularly manufacturing and the university sector. Our income and expenditure both reduced considerably, which led to a small deficit of 6,368 compared to a surplus of 13,848 in 2020, which the trustees found acceptable in the circumstances. Yes, so that's the end of the report, and happy to take questions.
So Sarah, I think you were first up with a question.
Thank you, Dawn, and good morning, everyone. Yeah, Elizabeth, could you just give it a little bit more insight? I was quite surprised to see how many staff have left WES. There was 4, and I think Beatrice makes it 5 now. Can you comment on that a little bit more, and perhaps do we understand why we had such a large number of staff leaving, and what lessons have we learned from that? Thank you.
Should I think it's appropriate for me to comment. So we've been doing quite a large body of work over the last couple of years to move from a sort of entirely volunteer-led to a staff and executive-led society, and I think the staff who were sort of already there as we had our first round of staff, as we moved through for our strategy, found other more exciting jobs to go on to. And of course we don't have the capability within our sort of staff structure currently, because it's so small, to have a great career ladder, to be frank, for people. So all of the staff have gone on to jobs which were sort of, if you like, promotion or an entrepreneurship, taking on their own businesses, and of course we then bring in other staff and develop them and bring them on. So it's unfortunate that it all happened in the same year, but understandable. And I think we absolutely have gone through. We've got a new staff handbook to make sure that policies and processes are very well understood, as we've sort of emerged from, as I say, a volunteer society with not a great range of staff processes and policies, to now having a fully supported and legally constructed set of policies and procedures as well. So we don't yet have a significantly deep structure to enable career development. So so that's something that we need to keep an eye on. But as Elizabeth said, we are hiring new staff. So so I hope that if we continue to grow, we'll get a deeper structure which will enable us to have a better career path for people. But when you have such a small staff structure, it's very difficult to offer people the development that they want. And you know, that there's not the career ladder, if you like, within our structure to enable that. But yes, we're absolutely we're very mindful that churn isn't helpful, and consistency is good. That said, fresh ideas can be good as well. So so we want to try and minimise the churn. So have enough development within our structure to have a little bit of capability to be able to bring people on, develop them, and have them stay with us for an extended period of time. But also we'll keep trying to get new insights, and you'll have seen that we've got now things like our communications outsourced, and that's because, you know, if you have a communications officer and it's a single person, there's definitely never ever going to be a great career structure there for somebody. But also you're bounded by that one individual's capability and experience in terms of communications. Whereas if you outsource those sort of digital type of skills, then you can get the breadth and depth of an agency supporting you. And I think the merit of that has really been shown in this year's Inweds reach. You see it's really grown arms and legs and gone from strength to strength. And a lot of that is linked in with the communications capacity that we've been able to get from having an outsourced model there. So we're very mindful of that, and we'll continue thinking, you know, in-source, outsource for support. And is it better to, as say, get skills from outside through an agency, or is it better to have staff within our structures? And we'll continue to try and deepen our sort of career path and get a better deal for staff, so that they can see that there is some capacity for them to grow within WES.
And rightly, Dawn Bonfield has said thank you to all staff who left WES, many of whom have been with us for a long time and given great service. Absolutely, that is the case, and you know, we wish them absolutely the very best in their futures. I think Vince has his hand up as well.
Vince.
Yes, thank you for the information, Elizabeth. I'm particularly interested in the growth in partner companies, and I guess it'd be interesting to hear if you see any trends in that growth. For example, sectors, you know, are you seeing more companies in renewables, food and drink, or whatever that we're beginning to partner with? And also maybe some differences in the size of the companies, perhaps, I don't know, more corporates, global corporates, or maybe more SMEs. So anything you've got around that, I think I'd find quite useful.
Yeah, we've seen most of the growth has actually been in the companies rather than, for example, the education partners. We've had a lot more startups. I think we've now got 6 or 7 new startups. So they don't bring in very much income, but the whole point is you do that for a year and then hopefully become an SME. And it's about those who are starting up and want to say, we want to encourage women engineers right from the very start. And what's not recorded here, because it's in the current financial year, is that McLaren Racing and the Ball Corporation have both come in as an event partner, and McLaren have actually also come in with a couple of bespoke events as well as the ones that they want. We've got a lot of work happening with them, and you'll see some great stuff happening in the beginning of November because they're sponsoring the Lottie Tour, for example. And we've got we're getting recruitment companies wanting to come in. They come in as SMEs, and it's generally corporations and some big ones. So we've got Amazon, I think, are coming in. Volvo have come in. So I'm sorry I can't be a bit more detailed because Beatrice departed at the end of September. We've got somebody new starting at the beginning of November, and we're still interviewing for a second partner manager because we now have so many. So we're in between times, but it's really good. And certainly last year, you can see that we've had the education partners stayed the same, and I think they are still the same. So there's obviously some work to do there. And we had a company plus, which is they get a standard partnership and they can choose a sponsorship as well. And we've got 6 more company partners and a lot of SMEs as well, which is a big increase.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? I don't see any hands. So we'll move on. And so I think the next part is for us to go through the resolution.
We just need to is to consider the independent examiner's report, which is this is the declaration by Sylvia to say that she has been through the accounts and they're fine as far as she's concerned.
So I guess actually, Sylvia, as you've joined us, do you want to just give a few words?
I will do, actually. I think it's really interesting to join AGMs. I love to hear the members as they discuss their charity, and I think you've stolen a lot of my thunder that I was going to say, but that's good because it's less time for me to talk on it. But yes, there has been a huge drop. I think there's been about a third drop in the income, as you can see. It's not unexpected. You're not dissimilar to any other membership organisation. It was a pretty tough year, and I think that managing the expenditure became the way to deal with that, and to end up with a deficit of only £6,000 at the end of probably what's been an unprecedented is the wrong word, really, isn't it? Because we use that far too much. But it has been a very strange period and nobody quite knew what was going to happen. So I think as a charity, as an entity, I think you should be very pleased with the way that you've come out of that. When I do my review of these, I always have a look and see how would I summarise the year before I've heard what everybody else has said. So and I was just looking at my files to see what I'd said, which is very much what you have said. So I'm not going to go through the numbers because I think they've been covered very well, but I had written down a couple of words on my file which said it was an entity that was looking at modernisation, and I think you talked about that. You changed your memorandum and you changed how you're working, and also an aspirational entity. I think you have a huge aspiration to grow, become more modern, I think, and to be able to meet the needs of the engineers and the world itself generally. So I think it's a great organisation. You'll see on my report, it's a clean report. So it's not an audit report because you're of a size that you don't need to have an audit. An independent examiner's report is often described as being a negative assertion. So an audit is a positive assertion, although auditors never say something is right or wrong, if you notice in what we say. But anyway, an independent examiner's report is saying, well, nothing that we've looked at makes us concerned about the record keeping, the way in which the systems and controls are operated. And I think that's correct. The accounts themselves, being a bit of an auditor now, they are compliant, so they disclose what they need to disclose. They give a correct view of the entity as at that point in time. So remember, these are made up to the 31st of March 21. I would be wrong if I didn't say to you, you have your income and expenditure, which is referred to as a SOFA, so there's a statement of the financial activities, so the ins and outs. But charities are very much about fund accounting. So I would have a look, I made a note here, page 37 in your report, which is your balance sheet. And what does the balance sheet look like? Has it got any, well, you don't have it in colour, I don't think, but any red numbers in it? How's it looking? And actually it's about what is your fund? Because somebody mentioned about the increased activities that you have and, you know, are we going to get big surpluses? Well, you do need to have a reserve. So, and I think you have reserves policies quite correctly, but you also, if you make more money, you're going to invest more money, and so you will always be doing that. We do know, of course, all of us about charities that make lots of money and tend not to invest it, and that seems to me to be the wrong way to do it. The whole point of raising the funds is for you to be able to do more. I was going to say more of the same, but more of different sometimes, and investing and whatever. So I think going forward, you're looking at recovery from a very difficult period, which it sounds as you can see, you have actually achieved. You're looking at investment and modernisation. You're a long way down that route. And I think also one of the things that you haven't brought out, I think, is about the use of the new technology, the new platforms. So this, for example, which you had to do during the period of COVID, but actually, whilst in-person meetings are going to be coming back, hopefully, fingers crossed, I don't want to jinx it, but you are also able to use this new platform, and you've invested in being able to do that. And I think that's a new sort of line that you can use in your charity going forward. And I know that you are all looking forward to doing that. So I think the entity itself has got a fantastic future going forward. I think you need to do more of the same and more different, as I say. I think the idea of using outsourcing is something that a lot of my clients are doing as well, because now we do need to be able to pivot and to take advantage of things coming in. And where you're a small organisation, if you're relying on a single individual, you don't have that bandwidth. But by outsourcing, you're able to get what you need at the time that you need it. So you're already ahead of the curve, and I think you just need to keep ploughing on. So I think it's it's been an excellent charity to work with. The individuals involved have been really helpful, and I know that my team have found it a very interesting assignment to undertake. And I just say thank you to everybody that we have bothered and been a nuisance to whilst we're doing our independent exams. So we apologise for that, but we are a bit of a nuisance when we come in and do things.
Thank you, Sylvia. A nuisance in the nicest possible way. And thank you for your insight and very helpful comments. Were there any questions for Sylvia? Oh, I see there's somebody. Vince.
Sorry, I'm boring this morning.
No, go for it. It helps
Sylvia,
to make the conversation rich.
You're an expert on the charity sector. Can you see any changes in maybe regulations coming up in the next few years that you think would impact WES? And if so, what sorts of things you think WES needs to be doing over the next period to be prepared for that?
Yes, I think one of the things that has started a little while ago and will continue even more so is about governance. There's a huge drive to ensure that charities, well, organisations across the board, but actually particularly charities, are being forced to not only have good governance, but be able to demonstrate good governance. So I think that's one of the things, and I think part of your modernisation is part of that. So you are moving down that road, and I think that you do have that in place, and there will be more push. And so there's a constant review of how charities are dealing with the funds that they raise and how they're investing. The other thing I think about, which I'm seeing, and it's easy to say and more difficult to do, is impact reporting. So it's a real watchword that you'll hear, and some charities are already down that route. It can be something that can be distracting, I'm being really honest here, but it is about how you talk about yourselves. Now, I love your report, and I will refer to it when I'm talking to other charities and sort of say, have a look at that and see what they've done. But some charities have very dry accounts. Yes, even as an accountant, I will say that, and I love numbers, but sometimes when I'm reading reports and I'm thinking, oh gosh, yes, you did do this, but it is actually quite, but I'm ploughing through it because it's my job, whereas other people are going to give up. So impact reporting is not talking about the inputs, so the things that you do, or the outputs. So saying an input might be, we want to hold 15 events during the year, and the output is that we held 16. That's factually correct, and I will check that as an auditor and an independent examiner. But actually the outcome is, what was the difference did it make? Did it bring more, from your point of view, did it bring girls into more of it? Did you get out to schools? Did you see an uplift in interest? Or I don't know what it would be, but it's actually trying to understand what the outcome of that was. So are we seeing more women in engineering? Are we actually able to see a trend? Are we seeing more interest? I like your thing about the tweets and those sorts of things. That's actually bringing more of a I don't know, coming out to the society more, rather than just being a sort of talking shop of people who are already on board, if you see what I mean. So impact reporting is a very specialised area. It's trying to take the numbers, which can be boring, and put them into something that actually means reality to funders or to people who are going to want to join you. And also it maps out the path that you've been on. So I have got some clients already doing it. We have lots of seminars. I'm sort of advertising those now. They're not they're free, so you can join them. So I'm not being terrible with that, but it's just trying to get people to think about how you describe your charity. So rather than what you're doing, it's about what impact do you make, what difference do you make to the area that you're involved in. So they're the two things: governance, I think, and how you talk about yourselves.
Great, thank you very much for that.
Sorry, that was too long an answer, but I get very excited about impact reporting because I think it is the future.
Well, thank you as well, because we wanted to make a difference from being a dull report to being something quite interesting that you could see and see the effect we're having. And what you'll see at the next AGM is that in WED 21 actually extended its reach to over 500 million, and also that the percentage of women engineers has now gone up to 14.5%, which represents 900,000 women engineers in the UK. Now, obviously, we can't say that all of that is down to us, but we will have played a significant part, and so we're quite pleased about that.
And I think they're the interesting facts, aren't they? Because you could be very busy and putting on brilliant events, but actually presenting them to people who are already part of your cohort, which is valuable in itself. But actually, I think if I'm correct in reading what you're doing, it's about reaching out, it's about trying to open it up and make it something that feels accessible to a lot more people.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I can't see any more hands unless I've missed anybody. So we'll go on to our second resolution. And so the second resolution is that the annual report and accounts for the year ending 31st of March 2021 be received and approved. So could I have a proposer for that, please? Penny, thank you. And a seconder? Any seconder? Joe, thank you. And could I have hands up for all those in favour, please? I'll remember to put mine on this time. Going up, going up, going up. Is that everybody? That's nearly everybody. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think, is that everybody?
I can't raise mine anymore.
There you go.
Because it was lowered for me earlier. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's unanimous.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then, excuse me, I'll just juggle my notes. And now we've got the results of the election for the elected directors for this next year. So as Elizabeth mentioned earlier, we changed the memorandum and articles. So now directors come on board for periods of 3 years, unless, of course, one of the incumbent directors who's midway through their period has resigned. And so we might fill a slot for less than 3 years if that's the case, and you just come on for the period of their remaining term. And the reason that we did this was to try and get a little bit more continuity and to enable us to actually execute on strategies rather than keep sort of flipping and flopping year on year with new trustees coming on board. And we're starting to see a good impact from that. But I have to say, I was absolutely thrilled with the number of candidates, so and nominations, because of course every nomination or every candidate has to have support from within the society to even get to be a nomination, and to then have so many people voting, so many members voting, was frankly amazing, and I was really pleased with that. But of course, as with all these things, there were some results, and so we have on the slide there the results of the election, which was held, was out for voting between the 11th and 11th September to the 16th of October, and you'll see there we had Mumpta, Emily, Charisma for the full 3-year term, and then Professor Eleanor Gora for the shortened period, just stepping in to the vacancy that was being filled. But what I will say is, because I was so thrilled with so many fantastic nominations, I do have some spaces for co-opted members, and so what I'm going to immediately do with the full trustee board, so not just the new trustees but all of the trustee board, is have a look at the skills. So we'll have a bit of a skills review of the board, and I will offer that out to the people who are nominated, and just pipped at the post in terms of the elections to see if there are some people with broader skills or slightly niche skills that might then supplement the board, and I would love to be able to co-opt some of those that didn't quite make it over the line in terms of the voting, because it was such a close run thing for those of you that have been able to watch the vote. I know Elizabeth sent the link out, so yeah, so I will do that, and hopefully then I'll supplement the board and broaden the board out as well. And for anybody then, because clearly I've only got a sort of a couple of positions that I can co-opt to, but for any of those who weren't successful this time around, I really implore you to have a look at the directors committees and to get involved there, because there will be positions coming up on the trustee board every year, and I would love to have the energy, involvement, and skills and thoughts from any of those people that wanted to become a trustee but just missed out this time. I have a hand that's shot up. So who was the hand? Ruth.
You're on mute, Ruth.
No, I don't know how that happened. I didn't put it up except to vote.
Oh, okay. So not a question. No, that's fine. Thank you. So just remains for me to say congratulations to those nominated. Thank you for that, and really exciting to have you on board. But also thank you to Alex, who has stepped down to focus on her fantastic new initiative. It's amazing. So so thanks to her for her commitment over the period when she was helping us on the board. Okay, sorry, just checking I'm not missing anything. So now I think the only thing that is left on the next item of business is to appoint the independent examiners and fix their remuneration. So so is Sylvia left already? If not, Sylvia,
I was about to say I will go.
could I? Yes, thank you so much for joining us. But
You're welcome.
if you could leave us now, that would be great. Just wait for Sylvia to depart. There we go. And so what we'd like to do is propose that that Moore Kingston Smith be reappointed as the independent examiners for the Women's Engineering Society until the conclusion of our AGM in 2022. And as you'll see, they have been more than just sort of independent examiners or auditors, but they've been immersing themselves in our society. And also, you know, Sylvia talked then about the free offering of seminars around impact reporting, and like so they have been helping us with you know, free content in understanding you know, how we can explore what we're doing and make it the best that it can be. So yes, I'd like to somebody to propose, please, that we keep Moore Kingston and reappoint them as our independent examiners. If somebody would like to propose that. Kathy, thank you very much. And then who else had their hand up? Would you like to be seconder? Oh, we've got loads. Eleanor as well. There we go. Eleanor can be seconder. Thank you very much. And then for all of those in favour of Moore Kingston being appointed, please raise your hand now, and I shall remember to raise mine again this time. There we go. Votes are going up. Yes, this is one thing that's definitely easier in person than raising your hand and doing it on Teams.
Yeah, we have 15.
Perfect. So is that unanimous again?
I think somebody didn't vote, but unless somebody's left, I think it's fine. Yes. Yeah.
So that's carried. If you could all just lower your hand, and I'll just check that there was nobody against or abstaining. So if you can virtually put your hands down.
So lower people's hands as well.
There we go. So I'll just check. Was there anybody not in favour of that? Just so we get an accurate record. Doesn't look like it. Or anybody that abstained. So it was unanimous, I think, then. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
We just to reassure people, particularly bigger companies have had very long relationships with the Big Four accountants, you know, KPMG and the rest of it, and it has been noted that this can lead to difficulties at audit. So it's recommended that we do change the independent examiners, but as a small charity, it can take quite some time for them to get to know us. So the first point that we would anticipate looking at changing, just so that we have new fresh eyes, would be about 5 years, and this is the 3rd year of MKS, so we would expect them for at least 2 more years, I think. But we can cross that bridge in 5 or 6 years' time. In 2 or 3 years' time.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Great. So I think that brings us on to item 8 of the agenda, which is AOB. So as I said, there were a couple of pre-questions which Elizabeth answered offline because there were specific questions, but there weren't any other pre-notified items. But please do feel free to raise anything if anybody wishes to. Oh, it's just Dawn said she was trying to raise her hand before but couldn't. Thank you. Any other items of AOB that anybody, or any other questions that anybody wants to raise before we go on to the presentation of the awards? No, can't see anything. Can you see anything, Elizabeth? Just in case I've missed it. No. Fantastic. Thank you. So so we'll go on to the bit that I always like at the end of the AGM before we close the meeting. We have our presentation of awards, and this year, as ever, we had some great nominations, but in having great nominations, that means we get fantastic winners. And so so the first award for today is the Elizabeth Hardwich Medal, and this is Wes's highest. Wes's highest honour, and it's awarded to a Wes member who's made an outstanding and sustained contribution to Wes over a number of years. And I'm delighted to say, and I don't think she's with us today, unfortunately, unless she's joined, that the winner is Sally Sudworth. And so Sally's been a stalwart supporter and active volunteer in Wes for many years now. She was a trustee and honorary secretary from 2017 until 2020, and her contribution during her tenure was staggering. She never shied away from roles that required significant hard work and organisation. There were several standout contributions, such as setting up and chairing the annual conference in our centenary year, and also acting as head judge for the We50 2020 for sustainability. The 2019 annual conference was extraordinary. It was held at the RAF Museum and tied into the centenary theme of celebrating the past and transforming the future. And it was indeed a true celebration and highly oversubscribed. It was a real marker of the centenary, and it set the bar for any future conferences to beat. Not content with resting on her laurels after her contribution as a trustee, last year Sally set up and still chairs the very active Wes Climate Emergency Group. And this has brought together her passion for supporting women engineers and her drive to make a difference on the sustainability and climate agenda, and has delivered an amazing outcome. Her drive and determination have not only harnessed the input of a key group of volunteers into this emergency, but also secured Wes's involvement at the most anticipated climate conference in a generation, COP26, which is truly remarkable. And I know, Dawn, that you're going up with her and co-chairing on that panel, so amazing. Consequently, there is no more deserving nominee for the 2020 Isabel Harbich medal, and I'm so pleased that she won. So Sally, I don't think she's with us, is she, Elizabeth? So, but I will be going up to COP26, so I will be able to personally thank her when I see her up there. So yeah, so thank you.
I will be sending her citation and her medal in the post next week, so hopefully she'll have it when she's at COP26. But truly deserving.
Fabulous, fabulous. And then I come on to the next award, which is the Gillian Skinner Award, and this recognises behind-the-scenes voluntary contribution to Wes. And this year's award is given to Alex Knight. Alex has made an outstanding contribution to Wes over the last few years, initially as an active member of the London cluster and later as a member of the Wes board. In the latter role, Alex has shown a great commitment through the work carried out as chair of the Partners Directors Committee, where she built on the capabilities and abilities of the team, supported the staff members closely, and led several initiatives. Alex has shown dedication and responsibility, despite the fact that during this time as a Wes trustee, she resigned from her full-time job to venture as an entrepreneur within the STEM education sector. She's the mother of 2 young children and carries out many other activities, including charity fundraising. Other Wes volunteers see Alex as a role model and mentor, so she is truly a great example of what a Wes volunteer is and represents within the Wes community. So Alex, I think I saw you join the call. Did I see you join the call?
Yes, she's here.
Thank you so much. This is really unexpected. Thank you. I wasn't expecting that at all. That's really, really kind of you. Thank you so much to whoever nominated me and for everybody's support. And it's always been such a pleasure working with Wes and working with all of you in the team behind the scenes as well that make Wes work, because a huge amount of effort goes on behind the scenes. And it's not always easy, but it's always rewarding because we know what our mission is, and that's what we're here to help achieve. So thank you so much. Really appreciate this. And obviously, even though I'm stepping down as a trustee, as you said, to focus on the other things that I have many of in my life, I will still absolutely be involved and championing everything Wes does. Thank you.
We have a certificate.
Oh,
And there is also your citation, and I'll put those in the post for you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Appreciate that. Look, to make life more complicated, can you see we've got a puppy as well now?
Oh, no. Chaos. Absolute chaos.
I didn't have enough chaos in my life.
Can we see?
Congratulations, Alex.
Thank you very much. You see, look, there's Penny, and then the puppy is asleep behind her in the corner. I don't know if you can see
Bless.
that.
Oh, so cute. On the bed, not in the bed, but
I know.
on the edge of the bed. Cool.
Unconventional.
So
Thank you again.
congratulations. No, our pleasure. Congratulations.
And many congratulations in the chat as well for you.
And so are there any other final points or final questions before I bring the Women's Engineering Society Annual General Meeting to a close? Any other final points? Can't see any hands. Don't think I've missed any hands. So the business of the Women's Engineering Society Annual General Meeting has been disposed of. I declare the meeting now formally closed, and you can stop recording. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
So thank you. So I don't know if anybody wants to stay on and chat. I think they can if they wish to, but formal meeting is now closed. So thank you very much.